Welcome back everyone for a wonderful Wednesday watch party. You may remember Wednesday was this surprise hit out of nowhere a few years back, literally crushing every viewership record around. We're talking huge, it connected. I even made a video on it, ranking it high on the Hayden scale for reboots and continuations. So anyway, now season 2 has arrived just 2 years, 9 months later, as is the style for the time. Or at least it's the first part of season 2 because Netflix drops things in waves these days. You know, it's the style for the time. But you know what? It's all pretty good. That's not to say the show is revolutionary or perfect. It's still mostly a success based on the performance of Jenna Ortega's Wednesday, which excels at connecting with the target audience. But we'll get more to that later, so sit tight. The plot of part 1 is pretty straightforward. Wednesday is having some sort of psychic dreams about Enid's death. Oof. You'd think she'd be happy, but she doesn't want to be responsible for Enid's death. So she goes about investigating it, trying to figure out how or why it may occur. This involves diving deeper into her psychic powers, which worries her mother. Morticia confiscates the spellbook Wednesday needs because she thinks Wednesday may suffer a similar fate as her sister, who disappeared some 20 years prior. This is all against the backdrop of a new series of murders involving crows. You see, people murdered by a murder of crows. The show writes itself. There are conspiracies afoot. The new school principal gives off odd vibes and blackmails the siren girl into getting people to raise money for the school. Wednesday is popular now and even has a fangirl helper. This is the sort of crazed stalker fan type who will worship and do anything she asks, which is annoying but can come in handy at a key moment. Anyway, stuff keeps happening. Wednesday has to see one of the boys from season 1 who sort of looks like a more attractive Jesse Eisenberg. They go camping for some reason and have an encounter with a Boy Scout troop that doesn't really help. Wednesday duels her mom, loses. Stuff heats up at the psych ward. We ultimately learn there are people who can control the birds, and that person is likely behind the murders done by a murder of crows. Uncle Fester goes in to investigate. This leads to a mid-season climax with breakouts and explosions. We learn the woman running the institution is the bird controller, and she's trying to continue her father's work. And boom, it gets intense and ends. Looking back on all this, Wednesday really isn't a plot-driven show. There's mystery and murders and such, but you don't hang on each episode dying to find out what happens next. Even when there are grand reveals, like in the whodunit style, it doesn't hit you like, oh wow, that's amazing. I barely remember the details from what happened in season 1 and I had to check even the points for season 2, though I just watched it. Compare that to Stranger Things season 1 and the disappearance of Will Byers. The mystery drove the entire show and you can feel the intrigue swinging back and forth. Even if you haven't seen that season in a while, you remember the details, the clashes of the characters and the ups and downs. Wednesday, not really. Wednesday's definitely a show of style over substance. It's about the feels and vibes, and that's not necessarily a criticism. It thrives on what it does best. It's about Wednesday, who is the odd one in a world of outcasts. As was pointed out before, the show takes an odd turn by making most of the outcasts somewhat normal, while Wednesday is the standout even among them. It obviously connects deeply to viewers, especially the junior high and high school ages. Maybe some college age kids too, because those feelings last long. How does it work? I'm glad you asked. Wednesday is the prime example of the female projection protagonist. Now, as soon as I say that, it would make sense for you to wonder if there exists a male projection protagonist. And the answer is yes, though obviously he's different. That's because men and women are different. For now, we're going to be focusing on the female one. Wednesday's unique because while she has a very distinct personality, that personality involves being stoic. She's often neutral and displays little to no emotion no matter what is going on. If she doesn't like something, she shoots off a sharp line critiquing it. The deadpan delivery often contrasts with the very sharp or colorful rhetorical blast she's saying. The audience then thrives in that contrast. And remember, an engaged audience is always having that emotional response to the characters and what happens. You see something will happen, and you either feel what the character feels or you feel how you would feel in that situation. Now, because Jenna Ortega plays Wednesday so absolutely neutral, you project all those feelings onto her. In a way, you actually experience the emotion of the scene stronger because there's nothing coming from the character. The scene where Wednesday walks in on Enid and the other boy is a great example. You feel emotions like shock, surprise, embarrassment. Furthermore, you know Wednesday would be annoyed, frustrated, or surprised by what she just walked in on. Wednesday is very straight. This face out of context, you wouldn't know what was going on. Since you're getting nothing from her, you project it onto her. You actually never learn specifically what she thinks, as she is then distracted by Agnes. Additionally, some people may feel the embarrassment from Enid, though the scene doesn't really emphasize her. While Wednesday is an extreme case, whenever you hear of a show or movie that is really popular with women, but people say the main character has little personality, yeah, they're basically talking about the female projection protagonist. Obviously, Bella from Twilight is perhaps the most well-known these days, though her literary descendant Anastasia from 50 Shades falls into the same category. Other than that, there is obviously relatability to other high school teen stuff. Enid has a whole subplot where she no longer wants to date the guy from last season, and instead is into some other werewolf guy. It doesn't really matter. Wednesday's brother Pugsley is greatly expanded from season 1. He has a whole subplot about some monster thing that he's trying to keep under control. It has the feel of a younger brother getting into trouble. You can expect this plotline to converge with the main one by the season finale. I'm not really sure about Pugsley. The actor was obviously cast when he was young, and as he gets older, sometimes they can't exactly perform on the same level as the show as a whole. I guess in fairness, we should wait for the season end to make more definite judgments. Now, one confusing or weak spot of this drop was episode 3's foray over the campground. So the campground was double booked with Nevermore and some sort of Boy Scout-like troop, and they decided on a capture the flag sort of game over it. First off, the troops is made out of like a military boot camp, but is otherwise composed of normies. Considering Nevermore has magical beasts and powers, you immediately realize the scouts are the inherent underdogs. Plus, they literally did nothing wrong and are as much victims of the double booking as Nevermore. The point is, why would you emotionally side with Nevermore? We root for underdogs, especially innocent underdogs. As the contest progresses, the scouts use ingenuity and tactics to outwit Nevermore and essentially have victory in their grasp. Then perhaps my least favorite trope ever happens. The scout can win, but instead boasts and waves the thing around, allowing him to be shot by Wednesday, who then swoops in for the win. While occasionally pride and arrogance can be the downfall of a villain, these scouts are none of that. We know nothing about them, and this particular character is nothing more than a blank slate with no development. Why would he brag and boast in the moment of victory? Was there anything leading up to it that explained or justified it? It was nothing more than a trick to make Wednesday the hero. Considering they were at such a disadvantage at the start, it sort of made me angry instead of happy. I wasn't rooting for Nevermore, the whole thing felt cheap. It was all a way for Wednesday to save the day as she has Mary Sue syndrome. And that's also how lazy writers these days make their Mary Sue female characters heroes, not through their own intelligence or ingenuity by the stupidity of the other people. Mary Sue syndrome, obviously inspired by the famous Mary Sue, is just a female character who is the bestest at everything. Others have talked about this at length, and Wednesday mostly has it in spades. That said, once you are really feeling it, the show makes up for it by having Wednesday lose a duel with her mother. It actually felt a little authentic, at least as authentic as these plot points can be. It keeps the show from going too far over the edge. And anyway, Wednesday is a good show that is successful for a single reason. The show knows it and emphasizes that. Older viewers may not be enraptured by it, but it appeals to the young and the young at heart, and worth a watch if you have the will. Have a great day. I'll see you at the next watch party.